Hello, hello. Um, Hopefully the network is okay this time around. So yeah, there are a bunch of things to get out of the way. Last week, we couldn't make this work for personal reasons and like also logistics as well. So we missed last week, and I'm still even trying to recover. But a lot happened this week, so and we will get into like distance, get into distance soon. Waiting to see if anyone will join. So I'm still struggling to figure out what to name this exactly these live streams. I know that the things that occur to me, the things that appear on my radar during the week. I want us to deliberate, to review them, and but the approach is how does it apply to us specifically, those of us that have a revolutionary bent and we want to build a new society. Referring specifically to Nubia Society members or members to be. So I this is specifically for us to deliberate and to keep to stay in touch with just the reality that Africans both on the continent and in the diaspora, I mean the everyday reality, at least those that make the headline. So to constantly stay on top of that, not to lose that uh, that context. So yeah, that's pretty much why we are doing this. That's why I'm doing this. Just it is useful for us as member society members, and again, those who what we are trying to achieve appeal to as well. So yeah, let's get started. Um, Next week, I'm bullish. I'm optimistic that we'll have like a more comprehensive setup. I'm working on a software that will allow for that. So let's see what happens by next week. So today we'll still have to make do with uh, the limited features of the YouTube studio, or maybe it is from my inability to just master and be able to configure the studio in such a way that this what we are doing can be more seamless. But yeah, I will let's start with Nnamdi Kanu. No one has joined yet, so um, yeah, I will just continue. So we are starting with Nnamdi Kanu. Um, I'll share my screen soon, so bear with me. So yeah, like I think last week or the week prior, we talked about the potential of this. At least it was on our radar. We realized that there might be a sentencing on November 20. So, and the deed has finally been done. The whole and what we said the other time is, or was, they might be able to arrest, imprison Nnamdi Kanu, but what he stands for, his message, his mission, the things he's agitating for, these things are enduring, and until they are corrected, the the agitation will continue, if not by him, by like others who will take up the mantle. So this sentencing is just delaying the inevitable. And people like Shore, right, they acknowledge this. I saw this tweet, and it is, I think it makes sense, right? We don't need to cry for Kanu. There might be more Kanus, right? If the coloniality of the state, the marginalization of certain groups within the state, the centralization of power, the domination of like if a certain elite over the vast majority of the people, these things are like just the typical um, characteristics of the African, all African states, right? And yeah, we know this, so it is not surprising. It is just, oh, again, for Nubia Society members, right? We are just we are just like it's more like a validating the thesis, right? The thesis, why we are doing what we are doing. So yeah, I particularly like what he said towards the end of his tweets, right? We have been here before, and history teaches that they have never won in the end. So again, as long as the conditions that led to the rise or the rise of Nnamdi Kanu exists, right? There will be more Nnamdi Kanus, um, except you exterminate the people, right? And we'll see, we'll see. So there's a particular video though, of his of um, of his how will I even define it? Just his comments in when he was asked to leave by the judge in the courtroom, and I just want us to play it. And yeah,
Punish you.
not the policy.
Now and forever. Criminals.
Like these are to the prosecutors.
Any judgment, let it be on record. Any judgment going in this court is rubbish. Ask him where is the law. Ask him what so where is the law?
Where is the
Where
law?
is the law?
Where is the law? Exactly. So I watched Daily Farotimi earlier today. He talked about just the hypocrisy, right? The so-called bandits, when they are sentenced, they get off lightly, or they might not even be prosecuted. They might be what was the word? Rehabilitated and reintroduced into the absorbed into the Nigerian military. So, but somebody like him is being sentenced for, I mean, Nnamdi Kanu specifically is being sentenced for quote unquote inciting terrorism, not directly terrorizing people, right? Maybe. Anyway, I think it's particularly instructive what his legal consultant, his lawyer, or at least one of his legal counsel uh, mentioned or said. So they said that he said, "Today will forever live in infamy." I think this is reminiscent of, was it Roosevelt, right? When the Pearl Harbor attack, the declaration thereafter, a day that will forever live in infamy. But yeah, like today will forever live in infamy. That's November 20. I've never seen a man convicted for simply what he said, not for actions he took. The verdict does not match the evidence presented to the court. The sentence is overbroad, cruel, and unusual. We strongly disagree with this judgment and will continue to challenge it until justice prevails. Where there is no justice, right, there can be no peace, there can be no social harmony. So, yeah, kudos to those who continue to perpetrate, to act this foolishly. And it is left to we who know better to take up the mantle to find ways to rescue our society from such foolish decisions. Not only foolish, but like terrible decisions, decisions that are exceedingly costly. Not costly not only to the present generation but future generations. Right. Yeah. So now let's move on to the insurgency in the Sahel region, Nigeria. Like it has been all over the news this week. Um, I read a particularly interesting. How will I even how will I describe it? Expose, right? It is titled "A Country of Particular Concern: The Fulani, Faith, and the Failure of the Nigerian State." I'll share this in the description. It is very lengthy, so but I will encourage you to, if you've not seen it already, to at least check a few of the sections, read a few of the sections. I think it's very instructive. Just it gives a better understanding. It leaves you more grounded, right, as to just the present, the conditions responsible for this so-called um, banditry. Um, just how the Nigerian state has repeatedly, consistently refused to, and it's again, it's predictable. People like Fanon, they talked about this a long time ago. They saw it coming. Um, so it is nothing new, and again, that's why if we see these things, if we look at our history, recent and like uh, past history, we just I mean it's we don't find things like this surprising whatsoever, right? So and again, it just helps we that we already know that this is the state of things and these are the things that we need to do to just basically like it further buttresses our conviction. So that's pretty much it. So again, read this and you would have, if you haven't already, you would or you should have like a better understanding of just the dynamics, the things responsible for this and why um or if certain things are not done right, we'll just see this continue to happen, maybe in a different way, but nonetheless, just this in internal conflict. So, but yeah, like besides just generally this article, there is a Nigerian a brigadier general, a Nigerian general was killed, apparently by some of these so-called insurgents this week. Um, so apparently this is the video, like this recording was done by his killers. So yeah, like a brigadier general, and people have like different sentiments, different comments, as if we are just realizing, we are just discovering today that oh, Nigeria or like the Sahel region, we have um, the state itself, right, is unable to protect its men. It's this is unfortunate, but at the same time, it is unsurprising. We are just playing to the gallery. If we feign surprise or like even you can see the lamentation and whatnot, right? Like it's just oh, evidently just it's just a part of just the status quo. We all see it, and we will all go. Most will go about their day, right? And as if they will fake amnesia, right? So again, this is what we are contending with. Those some of us, right? Is it apathy? Is it negligence, nonchalance? Yeah, we face things like this are what destabilize and lead lead to crazy revolt among the people. But it is so normal. It has been normalized in our midst that it's every day. And I mean, we will talk about something similar, hopefully, right? in in sometime soon. And again, the vast majority of the people will move on. It has been normalized. So yeah, like, and I think another thing, they said 200, 200 or so young children were seized by gunmen in a Catholic school in the northwestern Nigeria. So similar to, I mean, again, this is not novel. It is something that we are now habituated to. It is so conventional. I'm sure, like a lot of this has have been happening and they go unreported. So yeah, same old. And again, we all see, we all hear, and we don't take we don't take actions. Um, yeah, the 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 so and there was something about the I mean, I think push is coming to shove, right? And the Nigerian and Malian government, they are trying to, I mean, there's a military cooperation reportedly, like this week. At least the defense minister visited his Malian counterpart, right? And it, the speculation is it is to counter the because in Mali, right, like they are even the last what I heard the last time I checked, I mean, they had conquered or they were encroaching and like almost approaching the state capital Bamako. So, am I correct? Is that the state capital of Mali? But yeah, like so in Mali, right, it is even the struggle is even more tenuous. The government, I mean the government's the government's position is much more tenuous. So yeah, we'll see. But like these things are just none of these people are acting accordingly, right? Like what we mean is This is simple. To solve this, just take care of the contradictions, take care of the social conditions that are fostering creating these things. In the absence of that, like you are just everybody's we are just wasting our time basically, right? So yeah, even this, right, even what we are doing here, just talking, it's to an extent a waste of time, at least though, right? Some of us, maybe as society members, we we are this is just a work of forging our consciousness pretty much. So that's that about the insurgency. I think the article I shared is particularly instructive and informative. So if you find some time to just read through, not skim through, read through. It's I will admit it's very very elaborate though. So it might take hours. Might take hours to complete. So yeah, let's move on to just the what is now the usual a weekly thing, right? So constitutional issues, electoral issues in different African countries. So this time around, right, like it is Benin that is performing the Udini Act, right? So the president and his cabal, they have they have reformed the constitution. That's what they claim. So so the Benin's parliament has approved a constitutional reform extending presidential and lawmakers' term from 5 to 7 years and creating a new legislative body, the Senate. Voila, just like that, right? So the president is, sorry. So the president, right, is set to leave office after 10 years, and this is the second term. So roughly after 20, yeah, 5 years term each, right? So maybe after 10 years. But he has masterminded or created a system that will see that he continues to play a significant role in the affairs of the country. So that's basically all these things, this scheme. Same old across the board. So again, um, the main purpose of this is just that we are conscious, remain conscious of how these people are moving. This how the style, the paradigm, the algorithm, basically how they are perpetuating their rule and just extracting rent and not necessarily or not not governing, not leading, not working for the people. So let's so this is you see regulate political life. That's the power. Of course, of course. So, but anyway, evidently, right? Just and like I said earlier, just a scheme to continue to rule, to be in charge. So yeah, let's move on. Let's move on to these shenanigans. They are so so ridiculous, and somehow right, they keep occurring, and they will continue to, right, because until something revolutionary happens, so they will continue to. So we are working towards um eradicating stuff like this. So again, note, be mindful, stay conscious. So now let's just move on to random stuff that I think, I mean, I find really relevant. Um, I saw these tweets. Most of these things are tweets, by the way. So I saw these tweets on the car import tax, how expensive it is in Kenya, and it's just reminiscence of like the video I made recently, just talking about like the recent VAT and other form of taxes in Nigeria, the tax policy reforms, the tax reforms, right? And again, it's I at this point, right? Most of us should have a good understanding of what exactly is responsible for these things, right? That the state itself is a rent seeking machine. It is a gatekeeper. All it does is take rent domestically and maybe from foreign interest as well, right? So that's pretty much its mandate. So once you see this, once you have like an intuitive understanding of this so-called, I mean, these things don't surprise you anymore, right? And again, you realize that the only solution is to overhaul it entirely. But as long as you are thinking, oh, let me go, because if you look at the thread, there were a lot of tweets like, oh, how can we change this regulation, things along those lines, right? Like, and again, it's screaming at you, be conscious, realize, open your mind, open your head, right? And if your head is not open at this point in time, right, like you are just yeah, you are stupid, basically, right? Your ancestors, historically, they've experienced stuff along this line, maybe not exactly presented this way, but you get what I mean, right? So, and yeah, you and I particularly like this reply, right, by dissident Kenyan, and I like that yourself, the name. Yeah, a dissident Kenyan. So basically, like, and again, this shows a form of consciousness. The system has been designed to steal from us. The system itself is a mafia, like it's a cabal. That's the system. So you can't reform that. You can't be thinking that, oh, let me change the regulation. If you change that specific regulation, there will be new ones that will continue to take from you without like any corresponding value provided. So you have to understand that fundamentally. Then you realize that the only way forward is to overhaul it, to to reconstitute it radically, right? You can't fix it. It can't be fixed. You can't fix what was never well formed in the first place. So that's the unfortunate reality. So yeah, like, and there was this trending video, the Ugandan election, right? I don't think my screen is still being shared. Oh wow. So yeah, like there was this pastor apparently campaigning for
The leader.
campaigning for
Oh, the government
let's watch
is
this
the
video.
Excellency Yoweri Kaguta, the leader of Uganda. You are the bright light of Uganda. We are happy because of you and the other departments. So far as the government is concerned, the cow, the DPs, and the others, we are begging for your support. According to the Bible scriptures, the Holy Mighty God will bless you. Our
So this much, right? Like I mean,
oh, the
you just
government.
basically see the unfortunate state of things, right? If you're unaware, Museveni. Oh, I'm not. Well, if I'm butchering his name, good riddance. So basically, this man, he has been in charge for 40 years plus right now, and again, he's running for re-election. He came in as via a so-called revolution, a military revolution, and he had figured out similar to what we just talked about in Benin, or let's say Cameroon. You see it all across Africa. So it is nothing new. So basically, he had figured out a formula, a way to constantly perpetuate his rule. And you see somebody like this young man, um, promoting his re-election, and it's just unfortunate and ridiculous at the same time, right? You obviously you can see that is 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 defective. Yeah, and it's just funny how there's a form of Stockholm syndrome, right? Like it's usually it's the most affected among us, right? That tend to promote this rubbish, and for different reasons, right? Like who understand the psychology of of the suffering masses sometimes, right? So yeah, the most disaffected among us, the most affected, tend to somehow get be the most ardent promoter of this irresponsible feckless leaders. Yeah. Then there was apparently, like again in the video I made, right? Again, the last video I made, I talked about the ID system, the Kipande, just NIN in Nigeria, right? Like how it's just an advanced or a modern form of how of ID systems like Kipande or the pass laws that were used to regulate our movements and just exploit our labor to track our earnings, things like that, right? And I can't imagine that Kenya of all places, right? People who experienced Kipande and the most some of the most vicious form of surveillance, and yeah, and perpetuated with identity systems, right? Like the ones contending with, still fabricating, coming up with schemes like this. In that video, you should probably check it out. I try to I mentioned that this is part of just the neoliberal doctrine, right? That you need to have the demographic data, you need identity systems to be able to perpetuate or to basically enact certain economic policies, right? So now, if this gets actually enacted, uh, although it's still being debated, right? But for it to even be imagined, to be conceived, it is crazy, very, very crazy, right? That not only will limited biometric data be linked to your SIM card, now like your genetic information, your DNA, right, will be directly linked to your SIM card. And this is actually a global trend as well, like to an extent. So you can imagine that other African countries will again, because of what's the name of that program, right? Like that, oh, with little inducement by all these multilaterals, they can get our government to initiate these policies, and they present it as if these things are our ideas in the first place. But at the end of the day, right, like they get this massive sensitive data, and they can, do sophisticated social engineering stuff with these things. And yeah, again, um, we see, we tweet, and yeah, we move on to the next problem tomorrow. Um, I saw something. Yeah, let me read a few. I don't know if you can see this. So, yeah, this article, outcry as communication authority proposes DNA rule for SIM. Like, it seems ridiculous, right? It seems insane, but apparently it's a thing. So while identity documents and basic biometrics are already standard, the new proposal adds highly sensitive biological markers, including DNA profiles, blood type, voice biometrics, facial recognition, ear measurement, and retinal scans. They want to what do you want to do with this data if you do not want to build a police state? And who wants to live in a police state by this? It's wanting to live in a let's say social credit system like what we have in China, right? But a police state that is inept, not in charge, just like a front for some external interest. That is the the craziest the craziest part of this, right? So, and again, it is not far-fetched. It is not something that is, oh, it won't happen. It's just this is a concrete proposal already by an institution charged with this kind of responsibility in Kenya. So it is not far-fetched whatsoever. So if they implement this, right, telecoms such as Safaricom, Airtel, Telcom, they will be required to gather this information, store and routinely submit the data to the regulator. So, and if non-compliance can be penalized, blah, 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 right? So again, this will make Kenya one of the few countries in the world to link genetic data directly to phone ownership. But it is just the beginning. If Kenya does it, and if Kenya doesn't, even for this to be a concept already, right? Like I can imagine that a lot of other African, and we are like the most susceptible to stuff like this. So yeah, like again, we Africans, why must we be the ones um being experimented with this way, right? We are constantly the guinea pigs. Constantly, this is it echoes the Stooges experiment. Like it just screams of it. Like this is all a horror movie. Like, and we are watching in or we are sort of uh, experiencing right in real time, basically. Like, why would you want such sensitive information to be aggregated in the first place? Yeah. So the final thing that we should talk about this week, and again, this is another form of these things are just so depressing. Like, and what makes them very depressing is that the fact that they are not sophisticated whatsoever, right? They are so basic. It's basic exploits, and you just see that like this is a function of the societal stupidity, societal dysfunction, not, and in a way, right? Like you, yeah. Anyway, There's apparently lead poisoning in in some communities in Ogun, Lagos area, and it took a foreign corporation to come and investigate. So apparently, right, there is I don't know if you've seen this. You might have, but in case you haven't, right? So there is a like recycling of car batteries, things like that, right? Because it's more economically viable. There's incentives, right? Like for all these Western countries to want to recycle these things versus just just how would I put it? Versus recreating from scratch. Yeah, and it turns out that we in Africa, right? And I've seen cases of lead poisoning, which is from gold mining, like in all this Zamfara, like places with certain golds and like rudimentary mining operation, and it has led to a lot of environmental devastation and like even health issues, right, among the people in those communities. Now, in the earth of like not necessarily earth of Lagos, but just a prominent region, right? We have this operation going on, uh, and it is evident that it is poisoning the people in those communities, over 20,000 Africans. And these people were tested. They could see, for instance, they said this man had a blood lead level 5 times as high as what is considered less lead poisoning. So 5 times as high. So there was a child 3 times as high. And like basically almost everybody in that vicinity, in that community, you see interviews. Let me even play a video of like one of the community members who talked about just the devastating effect on his business and his health and whatnot.
Nigeria lies Ogijo, Ogun State, a community that has become the lead recycling capital of Africa. Factories here recover lead for car and battery companies. Residents breathe in black dust from the factories, which contain invisible lead particles that spread across Ogijo.
You will see the flame of the smoke going up, and up, and coming to this direction. They've ruined my business. They've ruined me.
Residents here worry about the impact of the facilities
This
on
is
their livelihood.
this is a Chico.
Facilities
This
on
is
their
a
livelihood.
Chico.
About
Kids
the impact of
apparently
the facilities on their livelihood.
possibly killed by.
About the impact of the facilities on their livelihood. But the toll hasn't been fully understood until now. To study the lead contamination in Ogijo, the examination and the New York Times hired scientists to conduct the most extensive blood and soil testing that had ever been done here. It's not supposed to be like this. The Nigerian government has known about this pollution for years.
Some health issues have been reported, cough
Some health issues.
miscarriage. Some of them have been sudden death.
Anyway, so yeah, apparently the Nigerian government is quite aware, and this keep going on. I saw a few tweets on the matter, and it's basically their vested interest, people who are making money. Again, when we talk about like just the gatekeeping, the rent seeking nature of this all these African states, um, it should not be surprising to anybody, right? Like at this point in time, if you are still surprised, right, like then you are just yeah, you are insane, basically, right? Yeah, because these people, as long as they are able to extract resources, in this case, right, money, profit, whatever. They don't care about like the environmental devastation or the lives that would be impacted adversely by like stuff like this. So like, and it's a recurring thing, right? Like, oh, if it is not battery recycling, it will be illegal gold mining or something like that, or oil bunkering. That's the that's the status quo. That's the norm. That's the paradigm. So yeah, let's end on this note this week. Next week, expect the custom made streaming tool, which should allow this to flow more smoothly, and maybe this format, right? Like, there's still a lot of figuring out to do, but like, I imagine that we are making headway, we are making progress. So again, this primarily, the reason why we are doing this is primarily for Nubia Society members, or members to be, right. Just stay conscious, understand that our struggle, our work, what we are doing, right, like, so that we can have a prototypical society that will sort of eventually envelope this 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 these diabolical societies that we call African states, right? So that's the reason why we are doing this. So yeah, hopefully I'll see you next week.